Kicking back, controller in hand, and enjoying F1 25 is one of the most relaxing ways to play this year's F1 game. But choosing the best controller and setting up your controller correctly can really help improve your handling in game. In this video, I'm going to look at how to correctly set up any controller in F1 25. I'm going to recommend my optimized controller settings and calibration settings. But first, a little word from this video's sponsor, and that sponsor is us. This year for F1 25, we've expanded our setup creator team to include some of the fastest drivers in F1 25. Our F1 25 Pro setup bundle created by these drivers features optimized league-ready car setups as well as safe setups, quali, race, and wet setups for every single track in F1 25. It also includes recommended qualifying, tyre, and race strategies to ensure you run the fastest race possible. Our F1 25 Pro setup is available to order today, and it's still available for a special introductory price for a little while. I'll leave a link in the description below and a card in the top corner if you're interested. Now, the first step of configuring any controller in F1 25 is to calibrate your gamepad, and this is just to make sure your controller is working as it should and correctly measuring all your inputs. The last thing you want are dead zones on your controller or not being able to reach 100% input. Now, to calibrate your controller, simply open the controller settings from the menu and press the button test button. This button test is the best way to check your controller inputs are working. With the mode active, simply press all of your inputs, the triggers, the analog sticks, and ensure you can reach 100% with every input. If you can't reach 100% with any trigger or stick, head into the calibration settings and we can adjust the dead zone, linearity, and saturation to fix this. First up, you've got the dead zone, which affects the start of your input travel. Increasing this dead zone will require you to apply slightly more input before an input in game is registered. And this is a great way to fix triggers that are a little bit sticky or some stick drift on your analog stick. Then you've got saturation, which controls how much input is needed to reach 100% in game. Now this is very similar to the dead zone, just kind of flipped for the end of your input travel. You can raise the saturation slightly if you can't hit 100% input. Say you're pressing the throttle pedal and you're only getting 95% input, which will then stop you from opening DRS. You can increase the saturation to fix this. Then you've got the linearity, which adjusts the input curve. Increasing the linearity kind of softens or makes the start of your input more detailed, giving you more control over your brake, throttle, and steering. And this is really great, especially on the throttle when you're racing without traction control. Now, one of the most important F1 25 controller calibration settings is the steering rate. While it's kind of similar to linearity, the steering rate specifically controls how quickly the in-game steering responds to your controller inputs. Increasing the steering rate makes your car's steering faster and more aggressive, allowing for quicker direction changes. This is ideal for players seeking maximum responsiveness out of their car. Lowering the steering rate does the opposite and it slows down the in-game steering. This creates a smoother, slightly more controlled feel, which actually can help a little bit with precision and stability. Now, my recommended controller settings are on screen now, but essentially I've gone with 125, 130 on the steering rate, leaving the dead zones pretty much as is, other than the brake, because I've often found that some controllers apply a little bit of brake input and that will close your DRS. So bump that brake dead zone up a little. Then I have increased the linearity on every input just to give it a little bit more detail, a little bit more precision in the start of kind of turning or pressing the throttle, pressing the brake. After calibrating your controller, we can move on to the controller settings. These affect the vibration, how strong certain effects are portrayed by your controller haptics. As you can see with my settings, I've pretty much cranked everything right up to really take advantage of the haptics in my controller. Gone 150 on the vibration, the on-track effects gone 100, and I've turned down the rumble strip and off-track effects to 95 and 65. And I've also lowered the max wheel rotation a little bit down to 345. This will actually increase the speed of our steering a bit. And the past few F1 games have benefited from lowering this wheel rotation, and I definitely recommend doing it again for F1 25. Now, the final piece of the puzzle is your button mapping. This lets you change which inputs on your controller affects which part of your car in game. This is genuinely just about ensuring you're comfortable, adjusting the button inputs for things like shifting gears, which is a really common change. But there is one change I would definitely recommend, and that's to map your right analog stick to control various settings of your car rather than the camera. You can map the brake bias and differential to the analog stick. This lets you make very quick adjustments to your car setup mid-lap, with a very simple flick of the analog stick. And that will round out our controller settings for F125. You can copy these exactly if you like, or use them as a base to create your own configuration. Whichever works for you is great, and the goal really is just to make yourself feel as comfortable as possible while racing this year's F1 game. Let me know in the comments below if you're using a controller or a racing wheel, and what settings you're using, and whether you change anything that I've recommended here. But for now guys, enjoy the game as it's just launched, and stay safe, stay sexy, and I'll see you on track.